We're trying to find out who built the structures that were uncovered on Lot 5. So finds like fasteners and possible iron tools can prove to be very valuable once we study them in the lab.
Tell the story about what's happening in the feature and how that relates to the money pit.
So we're going to get Sandy Campbell. He's been out here before. He's a numismatic expert, and he's going to tell us all about these coins.
Everyone thought the mystery was about what was buried deep underground. But here is the deal. The most shocking evidence was sitting just inches below the grass on Lot 5. As of December 2025, the new evidence confirms a sustained settlement, not a temporary camp, a home. The carbon dating just came back, and the numbers are terrifying for historians. We are talking about the 1400s. If these stones could talk, they would tell us that someone was living and working here while the rest of the world thought this ocean was empty. The Swamp Fortress. The biggest mistake everyone made for 2 centuries was assuming Oak Island was just a bank vault. The theory was simple. Pirates sailed in, dug a hole, dropped a box, and left. But Season 13 just took that theory and threw it into the trash. In Episode 5, aired in early December 2025, the team focused their efforts on Lot 5, a seemingly random plot of land near the shore. What they found there is hands down the most significant discovery in the history of the investigation. It started with a hunch. The ground near the swamp looked disturbed, but not in a natural way. When Laird Niven and the team began peeling back the layers of earth, they hit something solid. It was not a natural rock formation. Nature does not build 90-degree angles. They uncovered a massive stone foundation. This is not a few scattered rocks. This is a deliberate, engineered perimeter. The crazy part is the location. It is positioned strategically near the shore, hidden from the open ocean view, but perfect for monitoring the water. For a long time, skeptics said there was no physical proof of anyone doing major work on the island before the 1700s. They claimed the money pit was a natural sinkhole, but you cannot call a stone foundation a sinkhole. This structure proves habitation. It proves that people did not just stop here. They lived here. They slept here. They planned here. The stones are heavy, local field stones, but they are set with a precision that implies skilled labor. This was not a rushed job by a few guys with shovels trying to hide loot before the British Navy caught them. This was a construction project. The sheer weight of these stones would require a team of men, pulley systems, and time. A lot of time. And that is the one thing pirates never had. Pirates are fast. They hit and run. They do not stick around to mix mortar and level foundations. Emma Culligan's analysis of the soil layers around this foundation adds another layer of mystery. The context suggests this building stood for a while. It was not a temporary shelter. It was a permanent fixture. This changes the narrative from treasure burial to secret outpost. If you are building stone structures on an uninhabited island, you are planting a flag. You are claiming territory. And get this, the size of the footprint suggests it could have been a workshop or a barracks. It sits right on the edge of the swamp, which we now know was likely an open harbor centuries ago. This implies a direct connection between the ocean, the ships, and this building. It was likely the first thing you saw when you pulled your ship into the swamp. It was the checkpoint. The discovery of this foundation completely overshadows the drilling down at the money pit. While the drills are hitting water and wood at great depths, Lot 5 is providing the surface-level proof that a massive operation took place. The fans are going wild on Reddit, calling this the game changer that Season 13 promised. It grounds the mystery in reality. It is no longer a ghost story. It is an archaeological fact. But the foundation is just the shell. A house is just a pile of rocks, until you find the things people left behind. And what they pulled out of the dirt next to that wall is even more shocking than the wall itself. The dirt inside the walls held a tiny object that changes everything. The artifact trail. If the stone foundation is the body of the crime, the artifacts are the fingerprints. And in Episode 2, the island gave up a fingerprint that dates back to a time that makes no sense. The team uncovered what they call a Bobby Dazzler.
Lincolnshire, England, and we always say Bobby Dazzler's the shiny gold thing.
It was a lead seal. Now for starters, a lead seal might sound boring compared to a gold coin. But in the world of archaeology, a lead seal is worth more than gold. Lead seals were used to track goods, secure bags of wool or cloth, and verify taxes. They are the barcodes of the ancient world. Finding one here means trade. It means logistics. It means a supply chain. But here is the catch. This was not just a generic lump of lead. The markings on it were distinct. They displayed religious symbols. This is where the hair on the back of your neck should stand up. Pirates do not usually stamp their cargo with religious iconography. Merchants and military orders do. The symbols on the seal are currently being analyzed, but early looks suggest a connection to European monastic orders or high-level guild trade. This tiny piece of metal connects Lot 5 to the old world in a way that wood and stone cannot. It implies that the people on this island were answerable to a hierarchy. They were tracking inventory. You do not track inventory if you are just burying a stolen chest of jewels. You track inventory if you are running an operation. Alongside this seal, the metal detectors went off the charts with other signals. They found fragments of metal that suggest blacksmithing. This is crucial. If you are on an island repairing ships or forging tools, you need a forge. You need high heat. You need a distinct type of coal and iron. The debris found in Lot 5 points to a working blacksmith shop. This aligns perfectly with the stone foundation. A blacksmith shop needs a stone foundation because of the fire risk. You cannot put a forge in a wooden shack without a stone base, so the picture is becoming clearer. We have a stone building, likely a workshop, where men were forging metal and unsealing official cargo. What most people do not realize is that blacksmithing produces a specific type of waste called slag. The team is finding slag in quantities that suggest this forge was running for a long time.
Finally, Industrial Revolution is when they really started to stray away from cast iron pots.
It was not used once to fix a broken shovel. It was used repeatedly. This supports the theory of a sustained settlement, and that is putting it lightly. The sheer volume of activity required to produce this waste means there were likely dozens of people living here. They needed food. They needed water. They needed shelter. Lot 5 is revealing itself to be the industrial hub of the island. While everyone was looking for the bank vault in the money pit, Lot 5 was the factory floor where the work actually happened. The presence of religious symbols on the lead seal also reopens the door to the most controversial theory of all, the Knights Templar. The Templars were known for their banking, their wool trade, and their ability to move massive amounts of wealth across borders. They used lead seals. They had the engineering knowledge to build stone structures, and they had a reason to hide. The discovery of these artifacts in Season 13 has boosted ratings by 20% because it feels real. It is tangible. You can hold the lead seal in your hand. It is not a story about a curse. It is physical evidence of a group of Europeans operating on this island with a level of sophistication that rivals a small city. But the artifacts are only half the story. The real shock comes when you ask the question, when? Because when the lab results came back on the dating, the timeline of American history broke in half. The date on the paper was centuries older than it should be. The time shift. For a long time, the history books have been very clear. There was no significant European presence in this area until the 1700s. Maybe a few fishermen in the 1600s. But that was it. Basically, if you found something on Oak Island, it had to be from the 1700s or later. But Lot 5 just looked at the history books and laughed. The carbon dating results on the timbers found associated with the stone structure came back with a date range in the 1400s. Let that sink in. The 1400s. That is a full century before the money pit was supposedly dug. It is before Columbus even thought about sailing the ocean blue. This is the smoking gun that Laird Niven and the team have been waiting for. A date in the 1400s eliminates the standard pirate theory. Blackbeard was not sailing in the 1400s. Captain Kidd was not born yet. The golden age of piracy is way too late for this site. So, who was sailing the ocean in the 1400s with the capacity to build stone foundations and forge metal? This pushes us back to the era of exploration, or even earlier. We are looking at the Portuguese, the French, or potentially survivors of dissolved orders like the Templars. This new date also forces us to re-examine evidence from previous seasons that was dismissed as impossible. Remember the Roman coin found earlier?
I'm flabbergasted. We have a half a Roman coin, verified by experts.
It dates between 400 and 550 AD. At the time, skeptics said it was dropped by a searcher or a collector. But now, with a 1400 settlement date confirmed, the context changes. If there was a settlement here in the 1400s, they could have been carrying ancient currency or heirlooms. Or, the timeline goes back even further than we think. The coin is no longer an anomaly. It is part of a pattern of ancient activity. The carbon dating matches up with the lead seal. The style of the seal fits that medieval to early Renaissance period. It is a 1-2 punch of science. You have the chemical dating of the wood and the stylistic dating of the metal. Both point to the same era. This creates a massive problem for the skeptics. You cannot fake carbon dating. You cannot plant a stone foundation under 3 feet of hard-packed soil without leaving a trace. This is original, undisturbed context. The soil layers show that this structure was built, used, and then eventually abandoned or destroyed long before the teenage boys found the pulley block in 1795. The different kind of story that Season 13 is telling is one of migration. It suggests that Oak Island was a destination, not just a pit stop. The 1400s date implies that whoever came here planned to stay. They brought their technology, they brought their religion, they brought their coins, and that leads us to the most unsettling possibility. If they were here in the 1400s, they were here alone. There were no police, no governments, no maps. They could do whatever they wanted. They could hide whatever they wanted. And if they built a stone fortress on the surface, imagine what they could have built underground with that same level of engineering. The realization is dawning on everyone. The money pit might not be a pirate bank. It might be medieval engineering. And if that is true, the booby traps are not crude pirate tricks. They are ancient hydraulic systems designed by the best engineers of the Middle Ages. But just when the team thought they had a handle on the dates, a teaser for Episode 8 dropped a new clue that pushed the mystery into holy territory. A single stone with a carving changed the spiritual stakes. The hidden outpost. Just as the dust was settling on the carbon dating, the island threw another curveball. A teaser for Episode 8 reveals a stone with a distinct cross inscribed on it. This is not a scratch. This is a deliberate carving. And it is not just any cross. It resembles the crosses used by monastic orders and the Knights Templar. We have seen crosses on the island before, like the famous Nolan's Cross formed by massive boulders. But finding a cross inscribed on a stone within the context of the Lot 5 settlement ties the people to the symbol directly. It connects the builders to the belief system. What most people do not realize is that the Templars were dissolved in 1307. They went underground. A fleet of their ships vanished from La Rochelle, France. History lost track of them. The 1400s date of Lot 5 aligns perfectly with the descendants of that order, or a group holding on to those traditions, establishing a safe haven. Why hide here? Oak Island is unique. It has the natural geography to hide ships in the swamp, which was open water then. It has the resources. And it is far, far away from the persecution happening in Europe. The stone foundation, the lead seal, and now the cross stone paint a picture of a refugee group with high-level skills. Lot 5 has changed everything we thought we knew about Oak Island. The evidence of a 1400s settlement is undeniable. Do you think this finally proves the Templar theory? Or is there another group we are missing entirely? Let me know in the comments. If you want to keep tracking this history-breaking discovery, hit that like button and subscribe. The truth is closer than ever.